Oh, it looks like I got a red light up there, so we're good to go. And well, okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Wriggle. I'm with the John Lavinia Success Mastermind. Today is 1/21/2021. So for those of you guys who like numbers and kind of how they fall out, I just thought I'd say it that way. January 21st. Hey, Jody, how you doing? Gail, Lindsay, Sylvia's here, Emma and Allison, David. Our fearless leader, Mr. Lavinia, is here. Kim, Nicola, Evelyn, Giovanna, Suzanne. Talked to her for a bit just when we got things started. She was the first one on. Linda, Cyril, how you doing, guy? Sandra, Ivier, Mandy, Carlene just popped in. Janet, and looks like Susie has just arrived. So there may be some stragglers coming in as we go. Yeah, here comes Neil and Jane. So we'll just, I'm going to kick things off. I thought I was kind of talking with Jody just briefly, started to kind of let the cat out of the bag. When I started this series, we covered the 14 leadership traits that the Marine Corps uses, and we went through those, and we had definitions that we use in the Marines. And then there were a couple sessions where we discussed 4 of those in particular. If you remember the session, Great Initiative, Poor Judgment. So initiative and judgment, right? And then, but before that, the one that we hit that we all tackled, and we all just seemed to be fairly lockstep in our assessment of the importance of various traits, integrity versus loyalty. And so we covered that as well. And I'd say the majority of people, I think it's safe to say that the majority of us thought that integrity was rather probably the foundation or the keystone to all activities, human in nature, where we're dealing with business, personal relationships, etc. How we look towards ourselves, and just how we move about in the world. But as I was walking through those, because I was thinking, a couple of weeks ago, we kind of kicked things off with planning. And I thought, what else could we do in this first month of 2021 that might tie in what I've covered in the past, and then look to 2021. We're all still kind of here opening, waiting with bated breath. We're looking into 2021. Where are we really going? Glenn had a great session yesterday, talking about, what do you really want? And, what are you going to do to get there? Who are you going to align yourself with, et cetera? I mean, just all that information. So it seems like January is a month where we take our we gain traction, and that traction may be slow to churn, to break through the inertia, or it may be just like a gunshot right out of the barrel, and we are heading down the road. So before I get too much further into the year with leadership, I thought let's revisit the 10 traits that we had not covered, and I'm going to breeze through these pretty quickly, and then I'm going to open the floor. I'm not really looking for what you think is more or less important like we had done before. I'm just really looking more for kind of an open forum, and just to discuss the kind of feelings or the kind of thoughts that you get as I walk through these things. So let me do as I usually do, and share my screen and bring on the presentation. So let me maximize. I hope everybody can see that. I've grayed out the first 4. If you really feel compelled that you wanna go back and revisit any of the first 4, that's fine. I'm not really trying to set any guidance or rules here, or set up some sort of gauntlet. Let's just open this thing. So anyway, the other 10: dependability, decisiveness, tact, endurance, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, justice, and enthusiasm. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you a few seconds to kind of read through this pretty quickly, because what I did in each one, there are 2 slides per trait. The first slide is actually the definition that I provided initially. And the second slide, as you will see here in a second, is what did I pull from that slide? What did I pull? Doesn't mean that's what is going to be that you pull necessarily, but what did I pull? So dependability, being reliable and trustworthy, having a willingness to tackle whatever it is that's coming your way, doing things in the best way that we can, no matter what it takes to do it. And as John has mentioned many times, using, it's, having habits, forming habits. What does it say? 21 days or so it takes to form a habit. Maybe more or less, kind of depends, but getting in that habitual sort of thing. What do we do every morning when we get up? Is anybody doing the miracle morning? Is anybody working out every single day? Is anybody changing their eating habits, etc.? But making no excuses. So, and when I put an example here, the only reason that's just a little key for you to take a second and go, all right, this is what Mark's talking about. Let me write down a couple of these things. If these words mean something to you and you have an example that you want to provide when we go to open session, please feel free to jump out here and tackle it. No issues. So, and I'm going to try to breeze through these as quickly as I can, and still give you some time to kind of look through these so you can start making this, opening this up for yourself. Second one was decisiveness. And I'll give you a few seconds for that. So what are we talking about when we want to be decisive? I'd say acting quickly. It's a yes or no. Are you gonna, or is there a maybe? You're really trying to go in one direction, or that actually you're trying to, make it happen quickly. Decide which, and what have we talked about in the past as well when we talk about decisions? When we decide to go in one particular direction or tackle one particular thing or multiple things, other things move out of the way. The barriers that were there once before don't seem to exist quite as prominently as they once did. What is it? Desire over obstacles. Is that a phrase that I've heard in the past? And again, sound decisions quickly. Make sure that, and when you, it's not to say that you have to act imprudently, but what you're doing is looking at the information and being objective about it, pulling in the facts and making a decision and say, this is what I'm going to do, and you go for it. Next one is tact. So how are you dealing with people? Do you deal with people diplomatically? Do you avoid issues with them? Are you in their face? We've all had those people, those kind of people we've dealt with in business, in our personal relationships, even in family, in sports, you name it. There's probably an example to be provided in virtually every endeavor. And in the realm of tact, again, being diplomatic, being receptive to others and listening to what they have to say, being positive. We talk about this all the time as well, remaining positive, having the law of attraction, having that positivity, having that influence, attracting money, right? Attracting those things that are emanating from the energy from our mind into the universe and back into ourselves again, and then exuding that upon others, and just showing a caring about what people are talking about. And I looked online, I found this tactometer. I'd never seen this. I thought it was kind of funny and actually pretty appropriate. That's the two directions that we can go as humans. Endurance. Endurance in a number of different aspects, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual endurance, being able to withstand what's going on, being able to go for the long haul, being able to stay in the game for a long period of time, having faith that you can get through that, and having the belief that is, something is going to happen for you. Again, and I say I like this picture as well. Here's this huge road. That thing must go out there 5 miles. And there's this lone runner, and just gonna go the distance, just sticking to it. And no matter what, trials, tribulations along the way, we're going to continue to make it through this. We're going to see it to the mountaintop. We're going to move from one mountaintop through the valley, valley of the shadow of death, or that those hard times, those challenging times, and we're going to climb that mountaintop on the other side and get to the other side. No, and as John has mentioned before too, that remaining uncomfortable, perpetually uncomfortable, not being satisfied with the status quo. You keep pushing, keep trying to improve upon oneself. Bearing, and it's funny that actually when I was looking at that at the endurance piece, then I thought bearing, because there's so many times that, and we've all been through this. I've been through this. I don't know how many times. As we're moving through whatever challenges that we are, it is so easy to just sit there and you throw your stuff down. You just you slap, you punch a wall. You throw your pen. You kick the dirt. Whatever it is, however it is that you act out. We all have had those moments in our life. We've had hundreds, if not thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of those moments in our lives. And how do you keep composed? How do you stay chill? How do you just relax? How do you stay? Because when you're not this way, especially in a leadership role, how do you think others are going to act around you? If they're looking up at the leader and go, "Wow, this this guy or this girl's going off, man, this can't be good. I don't know exactly what's going on, but this can't be good. Is this good?" No, I mean, everybody starts getting that way, so it starts stressing people out. So just making sure that that you keep your wits about you, and that you do your best to keep an even keel. um, and that also goes for, yes, how you dress, how you present yourself, but how you hold yourself, and how you approach others, and how you approach things as overall. And I was looking for a picture to put in here just to make the slide a little more interesting, and saw this. I said, yeah, comportment. How I haven't heard that word in years. So I thought, hey, there's a good word for us to put in our our mental dictionary. Now you have a word. If you haven't heard that or seen that word in a while, now you've got another one. Unselfishness. I think as leaders, this is probably one of the bigger ones. Why? Because we have a tendency, being human and living in the environments that we do, to be fairly individualistic, and we want things, of course, we want things that are best for ourselves, and if we look to ourselves and improve upon ourselves, we can help others improve as well. But that's kind of a little bit off of what this really represents here. This is about um, not taking the gold when somebody else has actually given it to you necessarily with all their efforts. I don't know if that's exactly the best way to explain it, but don't take credit when credit is actually due to somebody else. It's great that you may be in a capacity that the credit befalls you as the leader of that. The things that you had instilled in your team hopefully have manifested, and they're coming to fruition here, and the leadership and those around you, your peers and so forth, see that you've had success, and they give you the pat on the back. But it's also, I'd say it's pretty important that, well, yes, I appreciate that that I get the pat on the back, but my team over here, the ones who really worked all the nuggets to make this happen, they're the ones that you ought to be shaking hands and patting on the back and giving the kudos to, because they're the ones who carried the load to make this happen for all of us. So just and looking out for others, and being able to take care of others, and acknowledgement. I think acknowledgement is such a big deal. And when it comes to, we have a saying, and many people have heard it here too, you punish in private and you praise in public. That can go a long ways, and that goes back maybe even into that realm of tact and diplomacy. And when there are things that maybe somebody needs a little extra refresher or a little help, even when it's not really punishment per se, it's just training, but it could be embarrassing. I'd say, if there's if you can err towards one side or another, I don't think it really serves well necessarily to be in somebody's face and do that in front of others. What's that saying to others about you as well and your leadership style? So you might be actually hurting yourself more so than you think you're doing that other person any good. And we probably all remember the years in basketball of Bobby Knight, back in was at the Indiana. I think that was the college that he coached. He had a very interesting way of challenging his players. He was pretty rough. He finally had to retire. He kind of was forcibly retired. People, I think, got a little bit tired of his methodology, but sometimes that's hard to argue with too, because he actually had some success, and there were a number of players that even came forward that supported that sort of effort. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that is my style. And frankly, I think in the way I like to approach things, if you take the time to explain people why you're doing things, and let them understand, and can they can let it move around in their brain to gain some understanding perspective of why something is happening. When it comes time that you're having to bark out the orders or move people very quickly because the situation dictates that something like that, there's a lot more trust and faith that's been developed there, because people have seen and experienced how it is that the leader operates, and they're more willing to function on a whim because that they know that in that environment, that is probably the best direction and best decision to be made, because they've already seen how this person acts and operates. So just food for thought. Courage. Courage takes many forms as well. I think as much as any of the others. Again, with the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical aspects of courage, always attempting to improve oneself, not looking to others to take blame. There's courage as well when it comes to you're the leader. The buck stops with you. If something has happened within your team or in your framework, it's not that you're finger pointing to everybody else. Who was given the authority to make the decisions? I'd say that was you. So um, just keep that in mind when it comes time that somebody's looking around for somebody to point the finger at. If they've come to your team, it's time to sit down and find out why that might be, and learn from it, and gain strength from it, and become better for it. Anybody here skydive? Knowledge. I think everybody has an appreciation for knowledge, and knowledge covers a broad spectrum as well. It's a matter of reading books, but we gain knowledge also in our experiences, everyday experiences, what we deal in a practical sense as well. So we have practical application knowledge. We have book knowledge. We attend classes. We do continuing education. We gain knowledge. There's knowledge that we gain even in our physical activities when we go out to exercise, and we run trails or we bike or whatever else we do. We gain knowledge in what we can find that our bodies are able to handle or not be able to handle, and just how far we can push that envelope on all in all those realms too: spiritual, mental, physical, um, emotional, etc. And justice. Justice was one of those that actually I think was kind of up on the list the first time around that we were looking at some of the other ones, the other 13 traits. This is being fair and consistent. Um, yeah, avoiding favoritism. That was a big one um, for us in the Marine Corps, and I would say in corporate America, or if you're in an environment where you have employees, people read right through that. They know very quickly whether you are favoring one person over another. And then we had something else called fraternization, and I think we are well aware of what that means as well. And fraternization can do so much damage so quickly, and sometimes it's almost impossible to pull back from. And in many circumstances, at least in my experience, people end up being separated from their units or the commands of their sections, um, and moved into in different arenas where there is no influence that can be peddled one way or another. And that usually settles things, not always, but that's just, again, food for thought. Being fair, consistent, being objective, be unbiased. I think that's the main one. When people look to a leader, I think it can be hard. It can be hard and have expectation. You're trying to drive people to get to a better place, to become more proficient, to become more efficient, to become better at what they do, to improve upon themselves and upon the team. So it's okay if being hard is done in the manner in which the results that you're looking for the team are an improvement upon the individual members and the whole team. Um, but the one thing to do also is that you're not being biased in your approach or being discriminatory in your approach in those regards either. This is, what's I think we had kind of I don't know, in the Marine Corps, we had kind of a funny saying. The drill instructors used to say that they, you know, they, they weren't discriminatory. They hated everybody. It was just, it was their way of saying that, don't expect any favors here. We didn't promise you a rose garden, that kind of thing. So they worked us very hard. But I got to tell you, at the end of the trials we went through, the satisfaction, especially when the trials are that much more challenging, you get to that mountaintop and you look back and go, wow, that really was quite an effort. And you feel, at least in my opinion, I feel a lot better when that happens. And the challenge has been that much more extreme, within reason. And I'm able to attain that. Because the other side, when I say extreme, you also have this piece where you can push and have goals that are so extreme and so difficult that you don't attain any of them. That can create frustration. So it's good to have short, medium, and long-term goals. I won't really go in that direction right now, but just keep that keep that in mind and set goals um, that are attainable, that are maybe just out of reach, but are worth the stretch, etc. The last one is enthusiasm. Being optimistic, remaining up, remaining positive, energetic. And again, we watch, if we watch sports, we watch other environments, we watch the people that are in leadership. I look to this venue. I don't think I've ever seen John come into a session where he just came in. He's like, okay, what are we gonna talk about today? I don't think I've ever seen that from that guy. And most of us are like that. Even if we've all had our little bad days, we put on a little bit of the facade, but I don't think that guy lives in a facade. I think that is exactly the burning bush that John deals with, and he comes with his A game every single day for us. And we respond. And we respond very positively. And we now look at the environment that in 10 months' time that has accrued, and now in a sort of a comprehensive and aggregate way, we sit here with each other like this. In this, while many of us have not met in person yet, we essentially have this family that exists with us now that is very comfortable, comforting, and very positive and influential in our daily lives. So just to kind of get back to all of them, here are the 14. And as you look through your plans and your goals, and a number of people are working through those right now, myself included, just kind of keep all these in mind as you move forward, and some things that you attain and some things you have to readdress. just don't get down on yourself too hard, and just move. If you have to move that milestone a little bit down, to the right on the calendar, then do so. And then maybe take some stock in what it is that you did or did not do, and reassess it. Stay objective. Use the traits here. All of us, I think, are pretty good at the vast majority of these, and just keep moving down the road. Keep moving positively, and keep stay off the the lack of inertia, or zero. Get off of zero, as John says as well. Keep moving forward, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, moving up to the mountaintop. You're little bit at a time. Eat the elephant one bite at a time, etc. So, and that is kind of my my session for today. Anybody who wants to jump out here and say anything, or if you've got any comments, please feel free. I'd love to hear anybody has anything to comment on. I can start playing the Jeopardy song here. Okay, here we go. Nicola, come on out. Thank you for stepping out here, Nicola.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone. Really good session, Mark. It got me kind of thinking partway through. So I'm in my previous role, I led a big team of just under 100 people. So a lot of that resonated with me. So I like the way you presented it. But as I started thinking of all the examples of where I've used a lot of those skills in my previous role, and I thought, actually, do you know what it is? I'm running my own business now, which most of us are. And whilst we're not leaders in the traditional sense, a lot of what you were talking through, I realized you can still apply to running your own business. You just apply it in a different way. There was just a few that stood out. So I just started making notes. But the first one was dependability. And I think that one's really important, because in terms of what we do, we have to think about the word that sprung to mind. It was consistency. So the service that we provide to any potential clients, we have to be consistent in the way that we show up to them. And that's all about dependability. So we've got people need to know what it is that they're buying from us, and they need to know that what they get from us in terms of the service is always going to be consistent. So I thought that was an interesting kind of slightly different take on it. But the other one was tact. And that is really, really important as a leader. You have to be able to have the skill of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, and understanding that everyone thinks differently, and not everyone reacts and behaves to things in the same way. And I think, again, that's really important. If you're selling to potential customers, you need to think about how your message is going to land with them in the same way as you would if you were leading a team. So I like that one as well. But the other one, unselfishness, is an interesting one. And to me, that's all about we, not just me. And again, I thought in terms of your own business, that's about being of service. So it's not about thinking about what the gain is for you. It's about thinking of the service you provide and how you can benefit the greater whole. And then the final one was enthusiasm. And as a leader, that is absolutely essential to get your team behind you, to motivate them to want to achieve the desired goal that you have in mind. And for me, that's more of a personal one. You've got to do that for yourself every day. And that's actually, for me, that's harder to do than it is to go in and motivate and lead a team every day. So getting up to, I have to have things every day that I look forward to. I've got to get out of bed with a set of tasks or to do for the day that gets me excited. So everyone has ways of motivating themselves in different ways. I put a strange little take on it in my own mind, but I think that is really important, because if you're not having fun every day doing it, then why are you doing it? Surely there's other things out there that excite you and want you to get out of bed. So it was really good, Mark. I've never really thought of a lot of the skills I left behind. I feel like I'm not using anymore. So it was a really nice reminder of the fact that I am, just in different ways. So thank you for that. And you've probably picked out one actually, which I know I need to do more of for me personally, which is courage. So that's trying new things. And for me, it's about fear and less. So having the courage to just delve in and try more and accept that, you know, you will fail and you will learn and you can then try again, do better next time. So yeah, thank you for that, Mark. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Nicola. Appreciate it. Great comments. All these points, and going to the individual and the personalized business environment instead of being out in the, this has applicability, I think, across the board. And the part I really keyed on with you is also this last piece when you talk about the enthusiasm and courage, and what it takes to to get oneself out of bed, to grab yourself by the collar and say, okay, I need to get up and get going here. It's okay to say, hey, let's all go and let's all do this. But to do that for oneself, especially first thing in the morning, or especially when the chips are down, or the mundane is just staring at you in the face, and you just go, oh gosh, do I really have to do this? Or it's a huge task, that's in front of you, and you just, oh man, I don't even want to try and get this going. I mean, we've all been there. So yeah, good points. Thank you. Jody, I see you on the list here. Please come on out. Thank you very much.
No, this was great, Mark, and I need to go back to your slides and print this out. But just thinking about these things, they apply to every single person and every job. I mean, if you worked in 7-Eleven, you need to know how to answer the phone. You need to be dependable with the money and your time that you're there. You know how to deal with irate customers, or in a stressful situation of somebody stealing, or a bad thing happening. And I think these are really good character traits that we need to work with our younger people, our children, our grandchildren, or anybody we meet. We somehow have to work one of these things into the conversation and give an example, because it's hard sometimes for people to take that from the military and translate it to day-to-day life. But I'm sitting here trying to think of some job, some career that doesn't need these things. And this would be really good if we were back in the corporate world, some of us that aren't anymore, as training sessions, or extended learning, or things like that. That these are all really, really important things. That thank you for bringing that back out and kind of putting it in such a nice, concise way to help us teach ourselves and others. So it was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that point up with the military. In retrospect, I've been retired for many years now, so it's not something that I look at every single day. But I keep my fingers in the pie. I mean, I talk to friends and colleagues, and I think really, and I can't speak for the other branches necessarily. I want to believe that that they do much the same. In that respect, these are, like you say, these are all characteristics. These are all kind of a way of somebody approaching life. And so in the military, why is it that many companies like to pursue veterans in particular? Because a lot of these skill sets, a lot of these traits, a lot of what they will be dealing with on a daily basis in the corporate world, they already have done so. I'm not saying that's 100% of the time. We have our 10%ers just like everybody else across the globe. You got the onesies and twosies that either don't get with a program, or they get tired, they get frustrated, or they do something bad. We have I think everybody has those, but by and large, this is the field of preparation for humanity, for dealing with people on an individual or a team or large scale basis. And this is where you cut your teeth, so to speak. You're out here doing all these things, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in combat operations, although that's probably the ultimate test in many respects. But I'd argue that there are many tests that go on outside of that. Working in maintenance, working in administration, working in logistics, all the things that we see in the corporate world all the time, working in marketing and sales. We're selling and marketing ourselves every single day with everybody we meet in one fashion or another. and how we talk with one another, how we act, how we work towards something, how we accomplish things, and the attitude and the adeptness that and adroitness that we use to approach things and accomplish things. So great points. Appreciate that. Thanks for
Well, I
stepping
think
out.
in the
Go ahead, Julie.
military, you don't have a lot of choice. Like, this is the way it's done. And like you said, you have the percentage of people that aren't going to make it. They're not going to grow up. They're not going to get with the program. They're not going to change. And there are a lot of industries, you're given a lot of latitude, even though you have direction, you have guidelines, you have training. But other than, I'm thinking like telemarketing, where this is the script, do not go off the script. But I think the military is remarkable because they can take somebody who doesn't have direction, doesn't have guidance, didn't have background, Joe Q Public, and turn them into somebody with this amazing character. There's idiots like the coach that break you down,
Yeah.
but, and we know that. I've been working with vets for a long time, but in the most part, there's just some common characteristics that they come out of the service with, whatever branch. And I just thank you for pointing them out. I'm
Yeah.
good.
Right. Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Jody. Thank you. Giovanna, I see your hand up, and then after Giovanna, it's John, the magnet, Mr. Magnet.
Hey, Mark, thank you for this. I like being reminded. So I was looking at the list and feeling pretty satisfied with myself that I'm feeling strong. But then this, except for this one glaring problem, which is decisiveness. I have the worst time making a decision, and it's just, I have a hard time making a decision. And you said something like, that once you make that decision and go for it, then things just naturally step aside and let you focus on what you've just, what your goal is that you've just decided. And that's what I'm just gonna remember that. So like, there are probably, there are pros and cons to every decision. And I'm just going to trust that once I make that decision, it'll happen. I'll bring it to happen anyway. I liked that you pointed that out. That's it.
Thank you, Giovanna. If you haven't done so already, Giovanna, in the first 5 books of the series that were given to us, recommended to us by John back when I joined in March, when I first got on board with this. My recommendation would be to, if you haven't read it already, is the Mel Robbins 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the 5-second rule book. And yesterday morning is a perfect example. Yesterday morning, I was laying in bed and it was about 6:15, and it was a little bit earlier than I usually get up at about 6:30, but I woke up and I've been hanging around in bed for, 20 minutes, just looking at the ceiling. And I said, well, you got to get up, or are you going to sit there and be a slug? I mean, come on. And I literally it popped into my head. I just went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And boom, I got up, I moved the pillows out of the way. I got up, and I said, wow, Mel was in my head. And I couldn't believe it. So if you haven't read the book, do so. It changed her life dramatically. If you read her story, you'll understand why. She was kind of heading down that Darth Vader road at a point in her life, and she turned it around. And it's a really great book. It's a good read. So jump on that. I think that's a really great book on the issues of decisiveness. Being in that ether where you're, well, what am I going to do? And just get on it, count and go. Just go for it. So anyway, John, it's your turn, and then Emma. Come on up.
Hey, everybody, and Giovanna, thank you for like that admission. Guess what? That makes you human, right? You and everybody else. Decision is a big thing, and I think a lot of times people diminish that. They can, well, I could always change my mind. And yeah, you can always change your mind. But people fail not because they make the wrong decisions. They fail because they turn their back on their decisions. they don't make their decisions right. I don't make all the right decisions, but then I make them right. Like once I've actually decided, like I've really decided on something, well then guess what? Now I get to, my goodness, somebody is, sorry guys, am I still live? Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah, because it was exactly, somebody had to call me exactly when I finally got unmuted here. So,
Okay.
and obviously I'm on the road. Oh, and it rained in Arizona. The ground is wet. This is like a big deal, everybody. Look at that. You see that wet ground? Look at that. See those clouds? You see clouds?
Yes.
Call the press. My goodness.
Okay.
So yeah, something good is happening here. This has been the driest 12 months ever. All right, so what was I saying? Right. So people don't fail because they make the wrong decisions. They fail because they undecide. They're indecisive. It wasn't a decision in the first place. It wasn't a true cutting off point. So what Giovanna just said, I think is huge, huge. So I recognize that I too have not had, decisiveness to the degree that I would, in hindsight, I would like to have in my life. Okay, great. So now that we've determined that has not been a strong suit, now we can be more deliberate about developing it. And I think where Jody was talking about the military sort of creating order, she didn't use those words, but that's what's coming up for me. Creating order in the lives of people who maybe have lacked order. Two things come up for me. One, why do we need to be told all these principles? Aren't they common sense? Okay, so they're not, right? So we need to learn this stuff, right? I wasn't born knowing all of these things, although just by having the ability to observe the world around me as I grew from a baby into a full functioning human, I picked up some of these things culturally, environmentally, right? I picked up things like truth, justice, integrity, right? When I was 5 years old, I stole a piece of candy. It was Trident cinnamon gum, cinnamon flavored Trident gum, which was being displayed on the impulse buy rack at the supermarket. So this is 1975, and I wanted the Trident gum. My mom wouldn't buy me the Trident gum. I stole the Trident gum. Next thing you know, we're in the car. I'm chewing Trident gum. She's like, "Where'd you get that?" I got the smack, right? I got reprimand and punishment, and that was my stealing career. So no, I don't get it all just through osmosis. Sometimes I require correction. Okay. So I just admitted a crime here. What's the statute of limitations? I'm stealing Trident gum.
I think you're way past that there, brother.
Okay. So I've since made amends for that. But
Damn
what was I
it,
getting at? Right. So that was the other part. Was the objective? What is the objective? And I don't mean to be a complete objectivist, although Ayn Rand did have a lot of good points. She just took a long friggin' time to spit it out. Anyone who's read Atlas Shrugged. But the idea is like, what are we showing up here to do, right? So I signed up for the military thing, right? To get my life in order, right? To go from maggot to Marine, right? That's the objective. And as long as the leader, the drill sergeant, the whoever, of course, my mind goes to, movies like, Full Metal Jacket and, Gunny and all these guys. Rest in peace. But the idea that as long as the leader is also decided and true to the objective, then the means, while it may not be pleasant, the means is justified, right? You're going to leave here as a Marine. Okay, that's what you signed up for, right? And look, it's equal love, it's equal hate. It's nothing personal, but we got work to do. The objective here is that you leave as a Marine. Now, I personally haven't gone through that training. I haven't been in the military. But the principles, I think whether you've had exposure to that directly or not, if they still ring true, well then do it, right? Can we do that in business? Yeah, you know what? Here's what I'll say. I got to shut up. I'm actually at the gym. I'm showing up really late to the gym. But my thought on this is that whenever I allow outside influences to steal from me, to steal attention, to steal time, to steal decisiveness, like Giovanna was talking about, whenever I allow outside influences to diminish my own stand on principle, I've just given up cause. I'm the effect. And if we want to be effective, which is part of the title of the book that we're reading right now, well, I damn well better be protective of my objectives, why I'm showing up in the first place. It's one thing to enumerate and have this conversation about principles. It's another thing to live it. And I'm doing that to the best of my ability. And I thank you, everyone who helps me do that, because I got to show up here too and celebrate my wins or admit my lack of integrity. Right? Anyway, thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I call that being dependable. You're here all the time, and you're enthusiastic. You're always there. A good leader. Thank you. Emma, I see your hand up, and then I see Cyril. So Emma, your turn, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that kind of resonated with me was the dependability. And when you mentioned about forming habits, because I'd say when you're working for a business, it's much easier to turn up, do what you're told, or lead obviously by example. But when you're kind of working for yourself, not having clear habits can really make a difference. So the ones that I've really started to do, which are really making a difference, are doing the 0 to 10K or couch to 10K. I'm on week 4, day 1. So I kind of really chuffed that I kind of really set that for myself. So I do 3 runs a week. I hate running with a passion, but I'm trying to get past that barrier. So that's a big thing for me. But it's like you say, it gets me out of bed in the morning, gets me on the run, and I feel so much better when I've done it. And then the other one is kind of making sure that I'm doing one of my subtasks as part of my main goals every day and feeling like I've really completed it. And then I really feel like I've driven something home for that day. And so those are my 2 really key habits that I'm starting to try and do to drive the business forward. So yeah, that kind of just resonated because I didn't have that last year, and this year I've kind of set myself that, and yeah, quite pleased. Like you said, is it like 27 days to make it a habit? So hopefully I get past that as well.
I got a question, Emma. What is it that you do or that you have in and around you, or the sort of the mental emotional thing that you say to yourself that keeps you going out there and clicking away at that run to make that 10K?
Yeah, to be fair, it's probably an accountability group with some of the guys on here, because we're wanting to lose some weight and want to get healthy. So that's a good thing to get me out there, because I don't want to turn up on the accountability call and say I've not done anything this week. So that's really helping. I'd say the second one is trying to make my children healthy because of lockdown. So if I'm seen to be at my computer all the time and not being healthy and getting out there, I take the dog for a walk every day, but it's more just getting your heart pumping. So from me doing that, they've been going on the Watt bike, so that's quite a good thing. So I'm motivating them too. So I suppose that motivates me. And it's just that reason to get up and get out and get some fresh air and do it. So yeah, that's kind of what's really driving me to do it. And having my stuff ready the night before really helps.
Do you have a date? Is there a race or something in particular that you are geared toward? You might have mentioned that. I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, so I'm doing the 0 to 10K. So it's the couch to 10K rather than the 5K because it's for 14 weeks. And then I thought to myself, by the summer, I'd like to do like a half marathon. And maybe eventually a triathlon, but yeah, aiming for the half marathon first.
Awesome. Yeah.
But I liked Ali's last night, which was cycling around the world. I might have to join her on that one.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Emma. That's great. Keep at it. I'd like to hear about your progress. I used to do a lot of running. I ran a marathon many years ago. Yeah, that takes a lot of training, a lot of dedication, and yeah, everything kind of surrounds that training to be able to get to that, because it's a pretty substantial commitment, emotionally, mentally, I mean, everything about it all kind of revolves around that. So keep at it. Like I like to hear the win when you get when you get to finish the race, and then you can get your little 10K sticker and you can put it on your, and you
it's
can
also
walk
Glenn
around.
who,
Yeah.
it's also Glenn who's motivated me as well
Yeah.
when he was talking the other day about
Yeah.
doing running. But it doesn't help because my husband's an Ironman and he's done one 3 times. So
Wow.
it kind of goes over his head. So it's good to have
Awesome.
other people that are within my realm.
Yeah, put the 13.1 on your card and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, all those things. Yeah, people go like, "What's that?" Well, if you've done one, you know. So, all right, thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Hey, Cyril, you're up.
Hi,
Come on
Mark.
up, sir. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, thanks for this. It's as long as one remembers that most of these are abilities that can be learned. Some are a little bit more, because the old idea of traits is as innate, and I think these days realize that some of it isn't just innate. A lot of it is learned. But on Giovanna's point, I wanted to iterate something, because I had a real problem with decision making. And what helped me was going to university. And there are a couple of things that really helped me a lot. One of them was the idea, a quote, "You've got to be in it to win it." In other words, if you don't make a decision, it's irrelevant because it's not going to happen anyway. So there's that first one, which is really useful because that gets you down to it. But one of the really most, and to be honest, actually, this was quite an important thing for me, because I think it was my first semester at university, I nearly had a mental breakdown because basically I had such a perfectionist mentality. I could not let my work go before I felt I'd done a decent job on it. And in that first semester, I mucked up so much because I missed so many deadlines. And then in one of my books, I think it was like the second semester, I found a really great piece, some great information. It was on, I think it was human behavior. I've just been trying to find it, pulled out one of my old books. And what it talks about is a decision-making hierarchy, in that in the best of all worlds, we will look at all the options and pick the best option. But the best of all worlds is hardly ever around, and we're often under time constrictions. So on that basis, there are 2 other ways to think about it. What the first level is that the first reasonable right decision, that's your decision, because under a small time limit, that's all you can come up with, that's all you've got time for. Then that's, in other words, it's basically make do with what you've got in the time you have. So the best decision you can find in terms of the first one is the best one. The next level is basically up from, I suppose one could cut these levels slightly more than 3, but the next level is basically the same idea, but increased number of looking at an increased number of ideas and seeing which ones give you the better answer, but only taking that to maybe the second or third right answer before you actually then just say this is it, and then we're going for it. And this helped me tremendously. It also because I loved the research and would keep on researching until I had, I found everything I thought I could find. And the problem is, rarely is there enough time to do it, as I said before. So, and also research for me was often the nicest part of doing a particular project, because finding out all this information and looking at how they interact and which ones work under what heading, so to speak. So yes, so on that, I think I found that very useful, and I still use it mostly when I remember to use it, and I hope that is useful. But it definitely stopped me having a nervous breakdown at university, and also helped me to get my reports in on time. Because in other words, because if you haven't got something done, in other words, it goes back to the to John's one as well, which works on the same basis, but these are subtly different. But yes, anyway, I hope that helps somebody. Thanks.
Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate your input. Is there Anybody else who would like to jump out here? We're about 6 minutes from the top of the hour. We can call it quits early if you'd like, and you can move on to your other priorities of the day. But the only thing I'd like to say is, Suzanne, can you move a little bit to your left, just a tad? Boom. Does everybody see that? Okay, so sit down a little bit lower. Now she's got the halo over her head. I was just messing around. So, so anyway, that looks cool. I love that sunset and that halo over your head is pretty cool. So anyway, all right, everybody. Everybody have a great day. Thank you so much for sharing today, and have a wonderful day. And we'll see everybody tomorrow. And let's see, what's today's Thursday? Who's got the schedule in front of them? What announcements do we have for today? Do we have yoga this afternoon at 2:30 Pacific, I think it is? Is that it? Let me see if I can pull up the schedule before we cut out of here. Hold on. I show yoga basics with Nancy, and that's actually at 3:30. I'm sorry. That is, 3:30. That's 12:30, I think, Pacific, 3:30 Eastern. And of course, the hospitality suite opens up here in just about 4 minutes. So, and then let's see what else is going on. Brand Builder this evening with Shannon at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. So those are the two other major events of the day. So hope to see you there. Everybody take care and have a wonderful day. I'll stop my recording.